What's up, guys? Welcome back. The Akashic Records. What are they? How can you use them? And what's their purpose? We're going to dive all into that into this video, so stay around, and I'm going to show you at the end how I accessed them and how I was able to come into it. So the Akashic Records are essentially what is considered, I believe, eighth density. So it's essentially here, but not in this physical realm of existence. What it is it essentially this unified field around everything that you see in this video, myself, all of it. And what it is it's essentially this library of everything that's ever occurred in the universe and everything that will ever occur in the universe. So it's all the past and all the future. Now, this is kind of a difficult thing to conceptualize, but maybe once we get into like how you're able to access it, it'll be a little bit more clear. But to describe a little bit more what it is, I mean, it's just that. It's a library of everything that's ever happened and anything that will ever happen in this universe, in this dimension, in this reality. So, with that being said, if you don't believe me, I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to kind of prove to you these things. However, what you can do with it is use it to kind of heal yourself and go into your past and go into your future and figure out what you're supposed to do. So let me at least describe what I've done to access it in the way that I kind of came about it and actually implored to use it. So, what happened? I was at a point in my life where I was kind of evaluating some of the traumas in my life, and I've really gone through most of my childhood traumas or even my past traumas in this lifetime. And something I kind of realized is like I had healed all of these quote-unquote traumas, yet there were certain things that were still, and still are, plaguing my current existence, let's say. One of those things is porn. And I'm not going to go into detail about the category of it. However, there's a subcategory of porn, and I'm sure we're all aware that there's a ton of them. But there was like two in particular that really like captivated my mind and really pulled me to watching them. And as a disclaimer, porn is not healthy at all. If you have it in your life, I highly recommend doing whatever you can to get it out of your life. But we can discuss that all in another video. The key here I just want to emphasize is that in my life, there's this category of porn that I decided that I needed to get away from, that I needed to stop watching. But I couldn't figure out why. Like, why was I captivated by this specific type of porn, right? Why was I falling down this rabbit hole? So what I kind of came to realize is like, okay, there's nothing in this current lifetime that I know that has this strong correlation to what this is. So I'm going to go into the Akashic Records and try to understand it. I found a meditation on YouTube. Essentially, you become very present, very still, and you would just sit. This was actually when I was in Porto Alegre. I found a nice patch of grass. I sat down. I became very present. I became very still. I became in a very meditative place. And then, through this meditation, you start to visualize. You visualize yourself in a hallway. You visualize kind of walking down the hallway. You visualize a door. You visualize that there's a book on the door. And then as you open the door, you are now inside what is essentially the Akashic Records. And for me, my visual was that there was this huge kind of crystal library of sorts, and there was a librarian. And I kind of went to this librarian and I was like, hey, I am looking for the book of my life, my soul's life, whatever you want to kind of call it, whatever is inhabiting me. And so what I decided to do was, so I just said, hey, help me out here. Take me to the story of myself. So this librarian kind of took me down the aisles of this glass library. And I remember it was 4 kind of columns down. We went in, she grabbed a book and handed it to me. And she said, here you go, this is your story. And so I sat the book down, and in this meditation, they say, as you open the first page, this is your, soul's name. I opened it up, and funny enough, it said Igor, which I, it's funny because I kind of was like, oh, that's like kind of like a gross name. And the fact that I had that like kind of visceral reaction to it made me think like maybe there's some truth to this. So I don't really know what to do with that. Regardless, we keep going. And then as I'm looking through this book, I say to it, hey, like I'm kind of dealing with these issues in porn. Like, why am I attracted to this type of porn? I know it's not healthy. What can I do? Like, what do I need to learn from this? The pages then like kind of flip, and there I am looking at, this scene of maybe it was a past life of mine. And I see that I'm a man kind of chained up against a wall, and there was kind of like stones. It was really the most like medieval example that I could possibly think of. And so there I am shackled to this wall of stone, and I think to myself like, okay, like what's going on here? Like this is crazy. And I kind of am like then find myself in this like moment with this person, and I look around, and then there's a table, and I'm not going to get into the explicit nature of it because I want to kind of keep this at least a little PG. But there was my wife on the table. Somehow I intrinsically knew it was my wife. And she was having barbaric, let's say, things happen to her sexually. And I was kind of shocked by this. I was like, wow, like it hit me very energetically. And I honestly don't know exactly like where this thought came from. But I would just I'm going off of faith that this is what happened in a past life of mine. And so what occurred then after that is that I asked the book, I was like, why is this happening? Like, what happened to do this? And then I kind of flashed again. The book kind of flashed, and there was me kneeling in front of some sort of king. And the information that I received, I didn't hear anything. It just like kind of like downloaded, was that I had lied to this king. And it wasn't that I had lied, but it was just that I didn't tell him the entire truth. And after asking, it was like that I didn't tell him the entire truth because I was afraid of what might happen. And here we go, is that after being afraid of telling him the truth, I kind of flashed back, and I was then chained up, and I was like, oh man, like I ended up getting punished way worse in a cosmic sense. My wife got punished for me not telling or speaking the complete truth, no matter how painful it might have been. It was something I think that I needed to do at that time, and I should have done. So if you've ever heard of childhood trauma healing, which I'll go into at some point and make a video of, but essentially I just kind of went back and like kind of paused the scene where I was kind of shackled up on the wall, and I said to myself like, hey man, it's not your fault. Like, this is what we're gonna learn from it. I'm you from the future. Essentially, it's kind of trippy. And here's what I'm gonna do. Like, here's what we're gonna do. How we're gonna get through it. Like, this is okay. This is just a lesson that you needed to learn. I've learned it, and so now we're healing it. It was crazy the energy that flowed through me as I kind of did that. And I was still a little like, don't get me wrong, like there was still this like energy of kind of closed nature. And so, I kind of was like taken aback by it. It was pretty crazy to think about. And what happened was then I kind of like shut the book. I thanked the librarian. Then this next part kind of happened pretty quick, where it's like, wow, like that's what I needed to get from this. So then I closed the book. I go to the put it back on the shelf, remember where it was. Go to the librarian, tell her thanks, thank you for showing me this. And I, then slowly kind of like pulled myself out of this meditative trance, and found myself back in the park in Porto Alegre. The crazy thing is now, after doing that, whether or not you want to believe any of that is true, I would argue that that's like a 5D truth. If you haven't seen my video on like 3D, 4D, 5D, go check that out. I'll try to like link it somewhere here. But what I'm trying to get at is that what happened in my 3D reality in this physical world is now I had like a far less suspicion or far less inclination to gravitate towards porn. And quite frankly, even that specific category of porn, I haven't looked at since having that, going into my akashic records and going in and healing a trauma from a past life of mine. So that's powerful stuff of what I've learned from it, how I was able to utilize it in healing where I am today. Now, if you're going to do this, if you're going to have these if you're going to meditate into this space, you need to have the purest of intentions, which is really what I, went into it with. It was like, what's going on in my life? Why is this something that is, I know, energetically holding me down, holding me more grounded in the 3D, and how can I release it? And lo and behold, the Akashic Records opened itself up to me and showed me what it showed me. So that's really what my experience was with the Akashic Records. I think it would probably be useful for me to go back in, but I haven't, had this drive to do it quite yet. Haven't really needed to. And so, yeah, in short, that's where I am. I thought it was pretty cool. And so other than that, check it out. Let me know if you've heard about the Akashic Records before in the comments below. If you have, maybe you've done a meditation. Let me know what that's felt like to you. And so, yeah, maybe I need to create a video about reincarnation too. So in your comment, let me know if I should jump on reincarnation and all that. Other than that, thanks for watching.